Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories like this. I'm diving into a tale of family, rivalry, and redemption. My name's Madison Cole. I'm 31, and my life took a wild turn at a Thanksgiving dinner that exposed some raw truths. Growing up, my sister always had the spotlight, fancy cars, elite schools, lavish vacations, and all the praise. Meanwhile, I was the overlooked one, piecing together a life in hand-me-downs and public school, with encouragement that felt more like duty than love. If you think wealth heals old wounds, stick around. This story's got layers. In our household, affection was a battle masked as parenting. My sister, Belle, was the star. Ballet recitals, Ivy League tutors, and constant cheers for every little win. I was the shadow, quietly navigating a world where my dad's advice was, be realistic. You're not like Belle. While she jetted off to study art history in Paris, I slung plates at a diner, stashing every tip in a jar labeled someday. That someday arrived when I landed a job at a startup in Austin. Data analytics, late nights, cheap noodles, and no grand expectations. I worked hard, made a name for myself, and when the company went public, my stock options turned me into something my family never saw coming. The rich one. I didn't flash my success. I stayed low-key, quietly gifting my dad a new truck, clearing my mom's hospital bills, even bailing Belle out of credit card debt. But secrets don't last forever. At that fateful Thanksgiving, the table talk turned to success, and my uncle teased, Madison's still scraping by, huh? I grinned and said, not quite. Then Belle's boyfriend spilled it. My Forbes feature, the company sale, the $26 million. The room went still. Belle's wine glass slipped, Dad's fork hit the plate, and my uncle bellowed, 26 what? I sat there, calmly slicing my turkey, knowing this dinner was about to unravel more than jealousy. It was about to lay bare the truth. The silence after my uncle's outburst could have cracked stone. Belle's face twisted in shock and rage. 26 million, she spat, as if repeating it could shrink it. From that geek job? I didn't blink. Yep, I said, cutting another bite. That geek job built a global analytics firm. I just didn't think it was table talk. Mom tried to defuse, her voice shaky. Belle, let's not make a fuss. But Belle was already on her feet, eyes blazing. A fuss? She's been hiding millions while we bailed her out for years. I set my fork down. Bailed me out? You mean when I was scraping by in a tiny apartment while you cruised in a Range Rover Dad paid for? Dad's head whipped toward me. Mind your tone. I held my ground, voice steady. No, you all watched me struggle, and now you're stunned I didn't stay stuck. Belle slammed the table, tears mixing with fury. You don't get to vanish and return rich. My uncle piled on, voice booming. She's right, Madison. Family shares. Why hide it? Because it was never about sharing. It was about control. I leaned back, scanning their faces, the same people who'd sideline me, dismiss me, now seeing me as a cash machine. You didn't ask how I earned it, I said. You just want to know what you can take. Belle's voice broke. So you're not even sorry? Sorry for what? I replied. For thriving without you. That's when Dad finally spoke, quiet, like a man watching his world shift. Madison, you should have told us. I met his eyes, and you should have believed in me. The table fell silent, the turkey cooling, and for once they saw me not the forgotten kid, but someone untouchable. Belle's meltdown hit harder than I expected. She threw down her napkin, shouting, You always wanted to outdo me. You planned this. I stayed cool. You don't plan success, Belle. You earn it. Don't act all high and mighty, she snapped. Money doesn't make you better. You're still the dull one who craved attention. Her words didn't cut like they used to. They were echoes of a past I'd outgrown. Uncle Gary, the family's self-proclaimed referee, jumped in. Madison, maybe it's time to give back. We supported you when things were rough. I turned to him slowly. You mean when you charged me rent to crash in your basement after my car died? Yeah, I remember. The room froze again. Mom whispered, Madison, please, this isn't. I cut in, leaning forward. This is Thanksgiving. It's about gratitude, right? So thank you, Uncle Gary, for teaching me resilience. Thank you, Belle, for showing me favoritism's face. And thank you, Dad, for doubting me. It pushed me to prove you wrong. Belle's eyes brimmed with tears, not regret, but shame. You're vile, she hissed. Money made you heartless. I shook my head. No, being ignored did. Money just gave me a voice. Then, like a scene from a tense script, Dad stood, his voice quaking with anger. Enough. This family's been through too much to let greed tear it apart. Greed? I echoed, rising too. I didn't ask for anything. But the moment you learned what I had, you saw me as a walking bank. No one spoke. Even the wall clock seemed to pause. Finally, Mom whispered, Madison, maybe you should leave. I nodded, grabbed my coat, and said, You're right. You pushed me out once for being too small. Don't push me out now for being too big. The door closed behind me with a soft thud. Inside, I left them with their meal and their silence. In my car, my hands shook, not from fear, but from the weight of finally voicing every buried truth. The cold air hit like a revelation. Staring at my reflection in the window, I didn't see the invisible daughter anymore. I saw a woman who'd built something no one could claim. The family drama didn't end there. By morning, my phone was flooded. Missed calls, group texts, guilt trips disguised as concern. The family chat was chaos. Belle, you humiliated me in front of everyone. Uncle Gary, apologize, Madison. It's wrong to flash wealth when we're struggling. Dad, let's talk privately. We can fix this. Fix what? Their egos? Their fantasy that I'd always be lesser? I posted one calm reply. No one's owed the life I built. I don't apologize for succeeding. Then I muted the chat. An hour later, Dad showed up at my place, unannounced, clutching a pie box like a truce flag. Madison, he started, softer now. Belle's hurting. You shamed her. She shamed herself, I said, not raising my voice. I just stopped pretending. He sighed. You've changed. I looked him dead in the eye. No, Dad. I just stopped following your script. He glanced at a framed article on my counter. Austin's youngest female tech exec launches grant program. His eyes softened, pride creeping in despite himself. You're helping people now, he said. Yes, I replied. The ones no one believed in, like you never believed in me. He nodded, unable to hold my gaze, and murmured, Your mom would have been proud, before leaving quietly. For the first time, I didn't chase his validation. I let him walk away. The story spread like wildfire in family whispers. Belle went into full meltdown mode, calling friends to sob that I'd ruined Thanksgiving, that I was cruel, that money had changed me. But the irony? Everyone she called knew my story. The skipped vacations, forgotten birthdays, being introduced as the other one. This time, her narrative didn't stick. I was sipping coffee in my office when a board member, Rachel, handed me an envelope with a grin. This came for you. Inside, a formal, desperate letter. Dear Madison, we've talked as a family. Things got heated. You've always been kind. We'd like to mend things privately. Also, Belle's tuition is due, and Dad thought you might help, given your success. Love, Mom and Dad. I laughed, a sharp, almost manic laugh. They didn't want reconciliation. They wanted their comfort back. So I wrote back, short and final. Dear family, I've paid enough for your silence, your absence, and your approval. I'm done funding your ease. Send future requests to my lawyer. Sincerely, Madison. I expected guilt, maybe regret. Instead, I felt free, like a debt had been canceled. That night, I met with my team to grow our community grant fund, renaming it the Someday Project after that old tip jar. When I saw my name on the first check for a single mom in Austin, it hit me. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who share your wounds and choose to heal alongside you. The next month was quiet, almost too quiet, like the universe had stopped testing me. But peace never lasts with people who can't handle your silence. My uncle called from an unknown number. I let it ring, then picked up out of curiosity. Madison, it's Uncle Gary. His voice dredged up every old argument, every lecture about respect, while they disrespected me. What do you want? I asked. He hesitated. You're going too far. Belle's struggling, seeing someone for anxiety. She needs help. I'm not her therapist or her ATM, I said flatly. You've got millions, he snapped. You can't turn your back on blood. I nearly laughed. Blood's just biology. Loyalty's earned. He sighed. You sound like your dad now, cold. I hung up before I said something colder. That night, Belle posted a vague quote online. Some people help strangers to feel better about ignoring family. It got likes from distant cousins who hadn't spoken to us in years. The cycle of guilt, pity, and blame rolled on, but I didn't engage. Instead, I poured myself into the Someday Project, expanding to Dallas with scholarships for girls in underfunded schools. Every check I signed built a wall between my past and my present. Then an email arrived. No subject, no name, just, you're doing good things. Maybe one day I'll earn your forgiveness. I stared at it. It wasn't manipulation, it was raw, quiet, human. I didn't respond or delete it. Maybe it was the first honest thing Belle ever said to me. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't need words, it just needs room to grow. Winter melted into spring, and so did my bitterness. Belle's name stopped sparking anger. A quiet victory, not revenge, but release. One morning, my assistant rushed in, eyes wide. Someone's here for you. Before I could ask, Belle walked in. She wasn't the polished princess I'd envied. Her hair was messy, eyes puffy, designer bag swapped for a simple tote. She clutched an envelope, standing awkwardly. I didn't know where else to go, she said softly. I stayed seated, arms crossed. Why now? She took a shaky breath. Because I need to apologize while it still matters. I didn't speak, letting her continue. I hated you, she admitted, voice trembling. Not for anything you did, but because you escaped what I couldn't. Dad made me feel I had to be perfect or everything would crumble. You left and built something. I stayed, pretending. She handed me the envelope, a handwritten, tear-stained letter. I lied about you to feel bigger. I broke something I didn't know how to mend. I don't want your money. I want peace. I looked up. She was crying silently. I can't undo it, she whispered. But I can start being honest. I stood, walked to the window, and gazed at the skyline that once felt so far away. You already have, I said quietly. She nodded, wiping tears. Can I hug you? I hesitated, then nodded. It wasn't forgiveness, it was recognition. Two women realizing the fight was over. For the first time, I held my sister without resentment. 3 months later, our family gathered again. Not for a strained dinner, but for a community banquet. The Someday Project had funded its 100 scholarship. Reporters buzzed. Local leaders spoke, and I stood at the podium under warm stage lights, facing a crowd that included faces I never expected. In the front row, Dad sat beside Belle. He looked older, humbler, with peace in his eyes. Belle offered a nervous smile. Not her old smug grin, but something real. When I spoke, I took a deep breath. I used to think success was about proving others wrong, I said. Now I know it's about proving to yourself you can rise, even without applause. A soft wave of claps followed, warm and sincere. Backstage, Belle approached. You were amazing, she said, her voice steady. You built something incredible. I smiled. So did you. You came back. That's its own strength. She hesitated, then handed me a small box. Dad wanted you to have this. Inside was Mom's locket, gold, vintage, engraved with Madison and Belle. I thought he sold this years ago, I whispered. He almost did, she said. I stopped him. I told him you might want it someday. For the first time, resentment didn't tighten my chest, just gratitude. Delicate but real. Later, when the hall emptied, I stood alone on the stage, holding the locket. All those years chasing approval, dodging envy, carrying anger, they brought me here. Not wealthier, but freer. I didn't buy peace, I whispered. I earned it. As I stepped off the stage, I saw Belle by the door, waving. Not as a rival, but as my sister.